Hi, Louie.
Hi, Gavin.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm feeling crazy and rich. Except the opposite.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Mixed Reviews.
Welcome, guys.
We are a podcast where us two bozos... is bozo a thing?
Yeah, let's bring it back. Bozos.
Talk about movies. We take a subject and we take 2 weeks and we learn as much as we possibly can about it.
Yeah.
And we come and we vomit it back out at you.
Just open your mouths up like baby birds and we're feeding you.
All those nutrients.
Delicious opinions.
If you'll notice, there's probably some background noise because we have a window open because it's still August in New York City.
It's kind of nice. I like the window open. It's bringing energy. Honestly, I'm barefoot in your house.
I'm so sorry.
I'm feeling...
When is your last tetanus shot?
What's that? And I feel good. I feel good about our subject. I feel good about all the work we did for this episode.
Yes, yeah, we did a lot of work.
Yeah.
So laud accolades on us. People.
So guys...
Yeah, exactly. That's how great we are.
Before we get into this week's, let's take a quick look at some old business. Our last episode, we looked at Ewan McGregor.
Yes.
Who, from the reaction we got online and Twitter, made lots of people's pants dance.
Yes, correct. Weirdly enough, not the audience he wants. Not the... I mean, I think he'd be happy to know, though. He seems like a guy who's pretty cool about it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think he'd be mad at all.
No.
So we asked you guys to go on Twitter and to vote for what your favorite Ewan McGregor movie is. And I'm just going to cut to the chase with no, pretense. Moulin Rouge came out on top.
Oh, yeah.
That's the fan favorite.
What was it, like 53%?
53% Moulin Rouge. Trainspotting eked out a second place finish with 17%. Velvet Goldmine came in with 16%, and Big Fish got 14%.
I have no ill will against Trainspotting. I do think it's overrated, though. So, whatever, guys.
I like Trainspotting. I thought it was very interesting. One of my favorite things about this podcast is being able to go back and watch these cultural touchstones.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I went to college at a time where I had at least 3 different roommates who had the Trainspotting, poster, the Choose Life thing. And it's like, okay, guys.
So yeah, thank you guys for coming out and voting. And let's get into today's, this episode's
subject.
Yeah. We're talking about the luminous, the glorious, the legendary Michelle Yeoh.
Oh my God. I'm so happy to do Michelle Yeoh.
I know.
That sounds weird. So happy to do Michelle Yeoh as a subject.
There you go. Good qualifier. Yeah, I'm really happy you, suggested her, and I'm even more happy that I get the pleasure of going through our rewind. To be frank, I hadn't watched a lot of things, and even the things that I had seen, like I'd seen Tomorrow Never Dies, but it didn't register to me who this person was. This Bond girl.
Yeah. One of the first Bond girls that they ever discussed doing a spin-off of, because she was so popularly received. Also, on top of that, one of the first Bond girls who, actually seems to have, I don't know, autonomous thoughts.
Right.
On life outside of James Bond. Because even in some of the other movies where it's a female secret agent, you're like, how did you get this job?
Right.
Anyways, Bond is a secret passage of mine. Maybe we'll do a Bond week. Who knows?
Ooh, that'd be good.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I was really happy, to be talking and to be researching about Michelle Yeoh. Her career is so varied. And interesting, and she's so iconic for a lot of different reasons, I think. And, and she's right up there when you think of in the Western, through our American eyes, thinking about Asian actors, and Asian in the sense of not Asian American, but coming from Japan, China, Korea, any of the Asian countries.
Fair-skinned Asian countries.
Correct. You think Jackie Chan won, obviously. Jet Li.
Yeah.
And honestly, on the female side, it's Michelle Yeoh and Zhang Ziyi, and
who doesn't do a lot of American movies anymore. Yeah.
Right. And it's one of the great things also is Michelle Yeoh has touched a lot of these characters in her movies. And so for me as a audience member, I was able to be like, oh, Michelle Yeoh has worked with Jackie Chan, has worked with Jet Li, has worked with all
Donnie
these...
Yen and Gong Li and on and on.
It's great. So I think we have a very good episode for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into the rewind.
Okay, so Michelle Yeoh's biography is a little bit scattershot on the internet. So
the negative aspect of doing this is because she is not a white American-born celebrity, you don't get as much detail as we got to say someone like Jane Fonda or Michael Douglas.
Right, but I'm going to do my darndest. So her birth name is Yang Kong, which is me trying my best.
There will be some bad pronunciations in this episode. We apologize profusely ahead of time.
Right.
There you go.
There you go. So she was born in the mining town of Ipoh in West Malaysia. She was born on August 6, 1962. And if you find interviews with her, and she's one of the best interviewer also.
Oh my God, she's so good. Yeah.
She loves, not only, it feels like she's never like bored or like, over it. She feels so natural and just like relaxed. Like I love her energy. And so she's always described herself as super competitive and athletic. She says that she was swimming and diving as a child a lot. She was a dancer from a very young age.
Now, you did mention that she's from Malaysia. She is ethnically Chinese. Her family is mixed Hokkien and Cantonese. Sorry, I just wanted to throw that out there.
And honestly, that's also such an interesting part of this. Like, I found myself going to the internet so often after watching her movies. And it's kind of like that thing for me, it's the movie Selena was cast, Jennifer Lopez, who is a Puerto Rican woman. She's Latina, but she's Puerto Rican. Selena is a Mexican-American woman. And there was like all this outrage. Same thing happened for Michelle Yeoh in, say, Memoirs of a Geisha.
Yeah.
Which, is Japanese. And she is a Chinese Malaysian.
Yeah.
And Michelle Yeoh has played every Asian character under the sun. But that is why that is relevant. When she was 15, her family moved, to the UK. Her parents, I believe one is a lawyer and one was a teacher. And she studied ballet at the Royal Academy in London.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Like, which had to be amazing.
Right. She had a brief dance career. And during this time also, I'm going to reference a lot of this GQ article that just came out by Michelle Yeoh. And it's an excellent article, and I posted it to our Facebook if you want to go take a read on it. She writes that Michelle Yeoh's mom made her enter the Miss Malaysia pageant, and to get her mom to be done with it and get over it, she entered, except she won.
Yeah.
Miss Malaysia.
My name is Yeoh Chu King. I'm a graduate and I come from Ipoh.
Like a very casual, I guess I'll do it, Mom. And then she won. She had her dancing career derailed. She had a back injury.
Yeah.
Her final year of school.
Which, can you imagine? That's when you're a dancer. I used to dance. You wouldn't know it from looking at me. But, I took tap and jazz for a number of years, 15 years to be exact. And to be trained from such a young age, I started when I was 3.
Yeah.
To train for something from such a young age, and then to be told you can't do it anymore.
And that's after you've joined one of the most prestigious dance academies in the world.
How heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And yet,
I was always a little ballerina who had dreams to be a ballerina and one day have her own school and all that. And it was a back injury, and I was told that I could not ever dance again. But I could still be involved with the dance world, hence being a choreographer, a teacher. I could continue in that path. So I packed my little ballet shoes and went back to college, university, and I went on to do a degree in dance, and I minored in drama. And at that time, I assure you, I hated it with such a passion. I never thought that one day I would be an actress because I had stage fright.
According to this article, she says, I was in Kuala Lumpur and she had just come back from a squash game. She picks up a phone and it's a friend. And the friend was in Hong Kong having dinner with Dixon Poon. Very ridiculous name. But he is a Chinese mogul who, owns D&B Productions. And he was telling this friend of Michelle Yeoh's that he was looking for an actress to star in TV commercials. And if she knew anyone. So she calls her friend Casual Miss Malaysia, Michelle Yeoh, and says, come over right now to Hong Kong. I have a job for you.
So my girlfriend, Malaysian girlfriend, turned around and said, oh, in her wallet, in Hong Kong. She whips out my photograph and say, how about her? And he said, yes, please, can you invite her
cute.
to come? Yeah, she's kind of cute. A little chubby, but kind of cute. And I was given the opportunity to play opposite Jackie Chan in a watch commercial. And that was how it all began.
That is the beginning of her just like meteoric rise in Asia as the go-to girl for these action movies.
Now the weird thing is too, DB Films, D&B Films, for some reason decides her name isn't marketable to a Western audience. So if you start watching a lot of her earlier films, she's often credited as Michelle Khan, Khan. And of course, later in life, she was like, no thank you. Yeah.
I mean, Khan, I guess, is maybe more like a Western audience can say it.
And I guess the whole thing, like Jackie Chan, like it's a very simple, Jet Li, but like it's weird that she has to be the one changing her name.
Her big breakout though is in 1985, and that's in Yes, Madam.
Yes.
And this movie spawns the genre of kung fu films, also known as wuxia films, guns and girls genre.
Yeah, the girls and guns genre. The wuxia films, like...
They're forever.
Yeah, I had been around forever because those are more historical kung fu movies.
Yeah.
And these are more like think of like Sylvester Stallone in Cobra. Right, or like, but starring Michelle Yeoh.
It's Michelle, and it's, as far as I can tell, it's, and for her specifically, because starting with this movie and going throughout her, that part of her career, it's all about like, girls beating up boys.
Right.
She's never really overtly sexualized.
No, and that's the crazy thing. I would say Yes, Madam is probably the one where she's maybe the most sexualized in terms of the girls with guns. And even that, it's very, very on the surface. And it's more about them telling her partner, Cynthia, played by Cynthia Rothrock, that she's ugly.
Right. And it almost feels like, I don't know if this is an American thing, a Western thing. I guess I haven't seen enough of girls and guns movies that do not star Michelle Yeoh. Whether or not these other women were sexualized, if I know men, I'm sure that they were. But for her, at least, anytime a guy would be like, get into the kitchen or whatever, she ends up kicking their ass.
Yes.
And that's part of the story. So she does Yes, Madam, and like, there's like a huge run of just like these movies. 1986 was In the Line of Duty, which came out in, also known as Magnificent Warriors.
Yes, which is great.
Yeah. Which is really great, except also the most ridiculous.
Well, I was gonna say, it escalates to a point that I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Literally, the bad guy at the end of the movie is holding the coffin of her partner. Was it her partner?
It was like a potential love interest who was a partner who dies.
Who kills himself,
right?
So Michelle Yeoh won't get killed. Mm-hmm. And he's holding his coffin hostage. Yeah. And he's gonna blow Michelle Yeoh up if she shows up.
Right. He says, it's bait. He's like, I'm not gonna let your friend rest in peace. You better come get him. And it's a coffin in like a crane. It's ridiculous.
But her performance in that movie, and unfortunately, like, I will try and include as many audio clips as I can. Most of them are in Cantonese, occasionally in Mandarin. But Michelle Yeoh speaks multiple languages, so I will do what I can. But the scene where she like is on television and they're like, "What are you gonna do now?" And she's like, "I'm gonna kill him."
Yeah.
And the cops are like, "You can't say that." And she's like, "I'm gonna shoot him." It's like, I love her so much.
Yeah. So thank you for bringing that up. Michelle Yeoh speaks English, Malay, and Cantonese. In the roles that she has to speak Mandarin or she speaks Burmese and the lady, she learns all her lines phonetically.
Yes.
And it is so impressive.
Yes, it is very impressive. I'll probably come back to this later, but reportedly Ang Lee made her cry on her first day, which I can't even imagine doing because he wanted the Mandarin so precise.
Right.
And she had never spoken it before.
Yeah.
And so, but she got him back later, and I'll get into that.
So also just to like really paint a picture, Michelle Yeoh has said, her career as a dancer was derailed by this injury. And you gotta yourself thinking like, she in Yes, Madam she got on set, saw that everyone was doing their own stunts. So she decides, I'm gonna do all my own stunts and all her own work. And she has said in interviews, it's all about controlling your body. And as a dancer, it was a different type of choreography.
Yeah.
And she said, as a career dancing, you needed to do this stuff every day, and it would be impossible. But on movies, she's like, I could handle shooting a movie and doing these like really intense shoots and stuff, and it wouldn't like ruin my life, essentially.
And that's one of the brilliant things about watching her too, is she is so graceful. And that's not to say any of that her co-stars are not, but a lot of it for them, it's about precision and like, you know, just hitting your marks as fast as you can. And with her, there's like, I don't know how to describe it. There's a fluidity.
Yeah.
And obviously it comes from that dance background that you don't get with everyone else.
It almost feels like she truly embodies that like Steel Magnolia kind of, because she's so beautiful.
Shelby drinking juice.
She is very Shelby. Oh my God. Is Michelle Yeoh Shelby of Asia?
I would watch, a Steel Magnolias remake with Michelle Yeoh as Mei-Lin.
Oh my God. Can we get it?
Yeah.
Hollywood, are you listening?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, hello?
Do it.
Uh-huh. The Girls with Guns craze is like, just blows up.
Yeah. It's huge.
And she has...
And we never got that here.
No.
We just genuinely, like, throughout the 80s, it's literally just like muscly guy after muscly guy, like, you know, Rambo 97 and like...
totally.
And what's crazy about that too, and I just want to... I know we need to get out of this era of Michelle Yeoh. But the stuff that she has done post that is so impressive, and she is so impressive as an all-around dancer, actor, singer. Like that's the other thing that people don't realize. She comes from the Hong Kong film market where you have to be everything.
Yeah.
You know, and so like she does all these action movies, but then she does things like The Lady or whatnot.
Yeah.
And you could never see, you know, Meryl Streep, like, shooting people, hunting people down and kicking them over the head, like, not facing them. Just the same as you can't ever see Sylvester Stallone, like, or there's a couple movies where he tries, but, like, having, like, a really emotional, heartfelt moment with somebody.
When you're a newcomer, it's so competitive. If you're pretty, there's someone who's going to be prettier. If you're tall, someone's going to be taller. If you're a certain way, there's always going to be someone who is going to be better. But it shouldn't put you down. You have to be who you are. You have to be the best at what you are. You have to be prepared. You have to be ready if you are given the opportunity, that you don't go, oh my God, then it's too late. It's also whether you have a certain gift. And if you have that gift, you cannot be lazy. You have to fine-tune your skills. And for me, it's a constant learning curve. You have to be learning the whole time. What's new that's going to be coming around the corner? Then you have to be prepared. Are you going to be learning Chinese, Mandarin, Burmese?
Yes.
And the latest one, I was learning Korean. So, you think it's hard, but you have to set your mind to it and go, okay, I'm going to spend the next 3 nights just learning those 5 lines. And you think, not that hard, 5 lines. But when you have to do it and do it naturally, like it's in your nature, it's not easy. So our work is a lot of work, perseverance. And it's always like that, the harder you work, the luckier you seem to get. So that when the opportunity does arise, at least you are ready for it and you're not floundering.
And so she embodies so much, but once again, she is not a white American lady.
And she is like, if you took Meryl Streep and Jean-Claude Van Damme, because truly the action of these movies, like even like say Yes Madam, which isn't like a great movie, the action is unreal. So Dynamite Fighters comes out after Magnificent Warriors. These movies like on their titles got me all fucked up.
Yeah. Also, these movies all have like 14 different names.
Truly.
Google those names.
Yeah.
But like you're gonna run into like so many others.
She also at this time is dating Dixon Poon, who is in charge of D&B Films. And so they get married in 1987, and so she decides to go into retirement.
Yeah. What is it with women going into retirement? These men, they never do.
These fucking men.
Fucking Michael Douglas will be on his deathbed.
Right.
They keep wheeling Kirk Douglas out from his deathbed.
Yeah.
But like Michelle Yeoh, Jane Fonda, Sandra Bullock, like these self-imposed exiles.
Yeah. It sucks. But surprise, she makes a great comeback in 1992 in, the American audiences know as Super Cop.
Yes.
Which is like the third one in the series.
It's Police Story 3, Super Cop.
Right.
Yeah.
And so she reteams up with Jackie Chan from her commercial days. And this is a huge film. Like it's It's released in the United States by an American distributor. I forgot what it's called. But I remember,
I think was it Miramax or
no? It was something. It wasn't Miramax, but I know because I found both versions. I found the original Hong Kong version, and then I found the American version.
What's cool? So in this movie, she plays somebody from mainland China, but like in her very first scene, she tells Jackie Chan, "You can speak Cantonese." So you are getting both of her actual Cantonese voice, and then the dubbed version is actually her,
right?
Because she speaks fluent English.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have brought you here. You're so clumsy.
You're the clumsy one.
Find some grenades.
No, nothing here. Here, catch. Why did he stop?
I don't know. Maybe they're scared. Just pretend to throw the hand grenades, okay?
Huh?
Now.
What did he say?
I said pretend.
Then speak more clearly.
This is also the movie where she had one of her like most insane, horrendous accidents.
Yeah.
And what is truly horrifying is they show this accident in the movie. In these Hong Kong movies, at the credits usually are just like extra.
Look at the crazy things we did.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and this movie's no different. In the credits, if you just like keep watching, they'll show like Jackie Chan almost falling off a train.
Yeah.
And him like getting onto a helicopter and flying away without any wires on. And then there's one really awful thing where, Michelle Yeoh falls off of a top of a truck and her back, she's supposed to fall into the windshield of a car.
Right.
And stay there. But what happened in this take was she fell, her actual body thrown into a car, and she doesn't stay there. She falls off the car.
A moving car.
Moving car. Jackie Chan is driving this moving car, and she basically doubles over where she lands on like the back of her neck, and her entire body snaps back on itself. And you see Jackie Chan freak out, stop the car, and everyone runs to go get her. Yeah. What is wild is that she was okay.
Yeah. And there's so many things in that movie. That motorcycle jump from the train, like that's fucking her. That's like,
and she's even said, and this article also talks about like the movies are just so scrappy.
Yeah.
They would basically come up with the fight choreography and stunt choreography like days before and being like, well, we did it once.
Yeah. I've also seen her in interviews talk about how like, you know, people complain about CG, but CG has been the best friend of people who have to do their own stunts because when she started, it was incredibly thin wires and now it's big cables that they can digitally erase.
And I think people often, I mean, the story about the woman who died shooting Deadpool 2, like this is still such a very, relevant big thing. And she has said, you know, like, thankfully it's a lot safer to go to work. Because at the end of the day, these are jobs. You know, like, these are not important. They're not changing lives, you know, saving the universe. They're making entertainment.
We all welcome the CG part because it has made our life a lot safer. Because when we do the stunts in the old days, there was a lot of risk in it. And I remember when I was dubbing Super Cop, and I was going, ow, ooh. What was I thinking at that time? Because if you look at the outtakes, I could have been very, very seriously injured. I could have like cracked my head open, especially that one time where I rolled off the van and the glass didn't break and I just slipped off the car. So if we had CG, we would not have put ourselves in that position.
She continues to make more and more movies in Hong Kong.
A ton of wuxia films, Butterfly and Sword,
the Heroic Trio,
Wang Chung.
Yep. It's the Tai Chi Master with Jet Li, which is very good.
Yes, it is. The last half an hour goes on a little bit too long. His like, I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
But it is very good.
She makes a historic melodrama called The Soong Sisters.
Yes.
The first of two historical people she plays. And she plays one of Eiling Ching, one of the like sister daughters of one of the most important Chinese families who marries It's a whole thing. It's basically a PBS special. Like, it's really long. It seems very educational, very pro-communist.
It was made in mainland China, and therefore, like, it's funny because in that movie, specifically, once again, she doesn't know Mandarin. Yeah. We brought that up. So you only hear her voice, her actual voice, when she speaks English. Mm-hmm. And anytime it slips into Mandarin, they've picked a Mandarin dub that's voices so much higher pitched than hers. Yeah. It's the weirdest thing.
You know, you're the most beautiful bride I've ever seen.
I agree. No, look.
等一下呢 ，Uncle Jerry 来了，让他坐在 Uncle Samson 的旁边。他们两个已经很久没见面。
你说了3遍了，大姐。
And you, the band, okay? Daddy loves to do fast dances, okay?
Don't worry.
我从来没有想过会嫁给孔祥熙这样的男人。
It's a very like rah communist China movie, but also I felt bad because she sort of plays the most conniving sister.
She plays the one where, like, the whole thing is like the legend of like there are 3 sisters. One wanted power, one wanted money, and one wanted her country.
Yeah.
And she was the one who wanted money.
Right. And there's literally a scene where Chiang Kai-shek is telling her essentially he's going to murder one of her sisters who like keeps protesting against him.
Yeah.
And she's like, don't murder her. That would make her a martyr. It already gave her husband too much power.
Right.
And I was just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, because her sister married Sun Yat-sen,
yeah,
who is the father of modern China.
Yeah.
So yeah, and according to this article, it's saying, you know, she chose really carefully what movies to be a part of. Because really the output of these Hong Kong movies is like hundreds.
Yeah.
And like it's nonstop. And so she was really careful what she wanted to, so she could transcend the girls and guns wuxia genre. And then comes along 1997, baby, and here comes Hollywood, and she gets cast in Tomorrow Never Dies.
Yeah, directed by Roger Spottiswoode.
And also featuring Sheryl Crow singing Tomorrow Never Dies. Iconic.
It should have been Katie Lang. Anyways, I'll talk to you about that later.
And so that really introduced her to Hollywood, and that was the first time, I would say, in my basic limited knowledge of James Bond, a fully realized, out from the spell of James Bond and his, like, you know.
Yeah.
They do, like, hook up a little bit at the end, right?
Just because this is a James Bond movie and everybody has to.
But, like, it's not like...
You gotta pay the troll toll.
Right.
My Bond girl was a very special Bond girl. Because I remember when I first took a meeting in LA, and I was with one of the producers, and they looked at me and go, Bond girl. I know, I said, yes, I know, not your real traditional ding, 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 that kind of Bond girl, but guess what? Bond girl, how about that for a change? So it's being in the right place at the right time. I think the producers of the Bond was also understanding that their Bond had to change in many ways, because they also wanted the women to be interested to watch the Bond movies. It wasn't just the men's, night out.
2000 is the big, you know,
the Michelle Yeoh boom.
And that is when Ang Lee casts her in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which surprises the entire world and becomes a cultural phenomenon. It wasn't just like, it almost was like bringing back the veil on Americans, like, this is kung fu, but beautiful and like masterful storytelling, and I think they were so smart. The movie is dubbed in English, and Ang Lee was so precise on like making the dubs as close to what their mouths looked like, and so.
But it's weird because I don't think she dubbed herself, and I do think that's strange because I watched a little bit of the dub, and it's like a really good sound alike,
right?
But I don't think it's actually her.
So then they said, you should consider making your movie in English. Then you will have immediately a much wider range of audience. But at that point, it was Ang Lee's dream, his China dream, to make it with integrity. So it had to be, the very traditional, not just costume, language, the way we behave, the way we were, with no makeup, because at that time you just didn't have makeup. And that was his vision. So we followed his vision. And when we came to America with it, they actually showed in screening 2 versions, a dubbed version and the original version. Mm-hmm. And very quickly, I think by the first weekend, they could see that the audience, They didn't care. They just wanted to hear this foreign sound, which was so amazing. But they could feel the emotions. And that is where, with the magic of filmmaking, sometimes it transcends the language barrier, the whatever cultural barrier, because the language of love, of emotions, really it just goes across the board. And you get it. You feel it. And we managed to gross about 130 million. Close to that at the end of the day, just in America. So, it's perseverance.
What I learned about Hong Kong wuxia movies is a lot of even the actual Mandarin is dubbed over.
Yeah.
Anyway,
a lot of the Cantonese. Yeah. Well, it's because, and I've sort of compared this to Italian film. It's been a big tradition in Italian films. The way it's always been done is that, up until a certain time, you wouldn't, shoot sync sound. So you would just shoot film.
Right.
And then all sound would be added in later.
Right.
And so that was a very popular thing amongst Hong Kong films as well.
Cynthia Rothrock, said in an interview that she forgot her lines.
Yeah.
And so she was
just say nonsense.
Nonsense. And she was like, oh no. And she apologized to the director and the director was like, girl.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you say.
It's great.
Yeah.
Keep it up.
I also forgot to mention in the 90s after, Tomorrow Never Dies, she becomes kind of like a sensation. She becomes one of people's 50 most beautiful people. She won an MTV Movie Award for Best Fight. And so she became, I work in the media. You used to. When beautiful people who are not white, become stars, media is hungry for it. Just to oh, here's representation. Let's do it. And so at least for print, magazines and publications, it's always good. We have this beautiful Asian woman who's, actually kicking ass or whatever. The truth was, they didn't know what to do with her. And she has said, if they had already cast a black person in a movie, they weren't going to cast me.
Right.
Because they were like, what? A black person and an Asian person?
Right.
It's
which is a huge problem. And something that people have even been bringing up about Crazy Rich Asians is that, it's still a class structure that anybody who is ethnically more brown than them is a servant in the movie.
Right. Or even just even thinking about we've cast our one brown person, there will be no more.
Yes, exactly.
And the reality is in what world do you know that you have one black friend hanging out with 10 white people? Get out of here.
Yeah.
That's not how it happens. It's does everyone have that one gay friend? No. No. I only hang out with gays.
I was going to say, especially if you are queer.
Right.
I get nervous if there's too many straight people around.
Right. And so she said she didn't want to play that stereotypical, kind of wilting flower Asian woman. And so that's how she got into Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And that was what really cemented her. She got a BAFTA nomination for a Best Actress, which is crazy that that's her only award nomination she's ever gotten.
She got a People's Choice nomination for Reign of Assassins.
Cool. After Crouching Tiger's Hidden Dragon, she went on to do other big box office things like Memoirs of a Geisha, where she played Mameha.
Yes. And she also, and I think this is an interesting thing, and we've run into this a bunch of different times. She begins shortly thereafter doing that. She begins producing her own work, her own English films even. And the one that bothered me the most that I could not find is this film she made called The Touch.
I couldn't find it either.
I couldn't find it. And I've heard it's not great, but still, I would have liked to have seen it. But also she made this crazy 2004 superhero movie called Silverhawk that I loved. And made me really wish that maybe she should have been Cameron Diaz's character in Charlie's Angels.
You know what? You're
right. Once again, two Asian people. Can't do it.
So yeah, she does, and she has said she started this production company because she wanted to nurture more Asian talent.
Yeah.
And so she makes The Touch, Silverhawk, and she does Danny Boyle's Sunshine. She was in the third Mummy movie.
Yeah. The less we talk about that, the better.
And then she plays, Aung San Suu Kyi in Luc Besson's The Lady. And that I think she really tried and did her best to be this big Oscar push moment. There was a little bit of an outside shot for her in the movie.
I mean, she is, there's been a lot of stuff that's come out since then, and I don't really want to get into the political ramifications of her, not Michelle Yeoh, but,
Aung San Suu Kyi.
Yeah, but, at the time, she wasn't a Nobel Peace Prize winner. And,
yeah. I mean, the long and short of her specifically is she was exiled in her country, a big peace advocate, won the Nobel Peace Prize. She was exiled for 15 years.
Yeah, she was put under house arrest in her own country for 15 years. And during that time period, her husband, who was British, died of cancer. Right. And she couldn't see him. And let me tell you, those scenes in which she's talking to him over the phone, because that's the only contact she has, and oftentimes unreliable phone, the government will shut it off at any moment, are heartbreaking. Right. Her and David Thewlis are so good in those scenes.
Yeah. Excellent movie. It's a little harder to watch now just because, so now there's like an ethnic minority massacre.
Yeah, a Muslim minority nonetheless.
Right, and in Burma that she is being wrapped up in, and so she's maybe not the best. Yeah. A lot of politics there.
People have been, like, taking awards away from her, like, striking her from the record. And
so that's The Lady by Luc Besson. And like you mentioned, she was in Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah. Oh, well, in between then, I do want to say, since then, her American output has been a little less than, like, at least not my favorite. She did the sequel to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. She was basically...
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Yeah, the only person to return besides the fight choreographer who directed the film.
Wow. The Sword of Destiny.
Yeah, and then she does a bunch of other...
She did, like...
Mechanic Resurrection, but the first, the first foray into television was actually this British show that was airing on Cinemax called Strike Back. She did a 7-episode stint where she played an assassin named Mae Foster. And then she went to Netflix's show Marco Polo for its second season, which was canceled. But so, like, the Star Trek Discovery thing, I realized, I was like, oh, this isn't as weird. Because when I first heard she was going to be on Star Trek Discovery, I was like, what a big get for them. But she's sort of been doing TV, and maybe she feels more comfortable in it. But, like, I don't know, I want to see her get back.
A part of me feels like she's facing the trouble that a lot of aging actresses are facing, but compounded because she was an Asian woman.
Right.
And so I bet Michelle Yeoh does not want to keep, doing her own stunts anymore.
Oh, absolutely not.
I bet that she's like, especially if it's not at the same level as Crouching Tiger level, she's probably like, I'm over that, I'm fucking Michelle Yeoh.
Well, didn't she basically get hired for Crouching Tiger because Ang Lee told her he wanted to do Sense and Sensibility in China? I think that was the line.
Yeah. I believe that. Yeah, sure. But yeah, and she, I don't know. And I mean, which brings us to now, she's in Crazy Rich Asians.
Yes.
Playing a mother.
Yes.
And it's interesting to see. And I guess we can talk about this more in the fast forward, just about like where she's going and like the current state of her career. Yeah. And maybe TV is a better place for her.
Yeah. And just a sidebar. I think I liked Star Trek Discovery. I thought the first season was a little inconsistent. I'm a huge Star Trek fan, but like I did like it. But her character, Captain Philippa Georgiou, was so good. And she, spoiler alert, she dies in the pilot, but that's not the last time you see her.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So, just if you go into that, know that you're going to be getting like a full-on Michelle Yeoh performance.
Ensign Carter, agreement between my senior officers. Note the date and time.
Noted, Captain.
Is this amount of sarcasm always necessary?
Necessary, no. But I do like it.
She's married to a French, like, billionaire person character.
As we all are.
Yeah. I can't find his name, and honestly, I don't care.
Yeah.
Just to know about her personal life.
And outside of that, like, we don't have a ton more on her personal life.
She is a big, philanthropy, centered human being. There's a lot of interviews where she's a spokeswoman for like road safety. And, after filming The Lady, she was so, swept up in the Burmese, fight for independence. She's a UN ambassador for all sorts of things.
And she's also actually, just real quick, she's a big sponsor of the American Foundation for AIDS Research.
Yeah,
which I didn't know until recently. But yeah, like she's spoken about a lot of things, human trafficking, water, women, animals, children, civil rights, conservation, disaster relief, economic business support, education, environment, fair trade. So yeah, she runs the gamut.
Yeah. So she's a good person, guys. Right. And yeah, so I think that brings us to now. Do you want to get into your reviews?
Sure. Do you want to start with our bottom picks and then maybe our...
Sure. Let's do our 1-star reviews.
She's talked in a lot of interviews about how she doesn't want to be the delicate flower, that there's this American stereotype of Asian women that they're all made of porcelain and they're all, right. You know, and that's something she's definitely fought against playing. And I don't think she's ever played it. But I don't want to cut her complete slack, because I do think every now and then, and maybe it's just to pick up a paycheck, she will take a role that feels stereotypically like Chinese for our Americans. And by that I mean there's this film she made in 2016, 2 years ago, called Morgan, in which she plays a scientist who's literally only there to be cold and no mathematics and just be like an Asian scientist, like no emotions and just... And so, just real brief moment. It's a 2016 British-American co-production. It's directed by Luke Scott, who is the son of Ridley Scott.
Oh, fun.
And the movie...
I love nepotism.
Yeah, and the movie literally feels like, Daddy, I want to make a movie.
Sure.
And... it's a script that was on the blacklist, which, as we keep talking about in this podcast, scripts on the blacklist
doesn't mean it's good.
Doesn't mean it's good. But essentially it's about, Kate Mara, and she's like a quote unquote, insurance person for this corporation. And she's going to this isolated area where they've essentially genetically engineered a child into being sort of like a perfect human, but kind of a perfect killing machine, it seems like. Right. It's an all-star cast. Well, she seems like really nefarious from the start, and there's like a twist at the end that you should see coming because you've seen a movie before.
Right.
And, but it's like I said, it's an all-star cast. Anya Taylor-Joy is in it. Toby Jones, Rose Leslie, Boyd Holbrook, Michelle Yeoh, Jennifer Jason Leigh doing her damnedest with a 2-scene role. Paul Giamatti. And literally for less than 5 minutes, and I'm sure he bought a fucking house with it, Brian Cox shows up at the end just to like talk on a phone. And I was like, I hate you so much. Anyways, Michelle Yeoh's character is the scientist who created Morgan, who's the artificial human, who's like going to go bad. And like, you're just waiting for it to happen.
Right.
And there's no tension there. And her scenes amount to her like being surprised that somebody else might speak Chinese, you know, that, you know, and to coldly report on her creation. And it's not even that bad of a performance. She just seems bored. She just seems really bored. Like she wasn't given anything to bite into. And I feel kind of bad picking a role that's so small, but like it literally felt like the role that they were like, well, we couldn't cast a black or Hispanic person in this role. Certainly couldn't be a white person. I know. It's gotta be an Asian person.
Why did you end Morgan's ego therapy sessions with Amy?
There was an incident in the woods. Amy took Morgan beyond the property lines. It could have compromised the entire project. That was my excuse. But the truth? Do you know the cruelest thing you can do to someone you've locked in a room? Pressed her face to the window. You know what you must do.
I did not watch Morgan.
Yeah, you didn't need to.
I definitely saw it like lurking in my like to watch list, and I was like, this seems like spooky and stupid, which I don't want.
Yeah.
So I decided to skip that. And now I'm glad.
It's really bad. And the only blessing it has is that it's maybe an hour and a half at most. It's 92 minutes. So like you don't have to spend much time. Its budget was $8 million. It made $8 million. So I guess that's like a decent, like, but who knows what they spent on advertising.
Did it release, like, in theaters?
I mean, it was 20th Century Fox, so I feel like it
must be that.
Must have, yeah. But, yeah, it was, it's not good. I mean, it's literally like Luke Scott found this script and was like, I'd really, like, people liked Ex Machina, and they love my dad's movie Alien, so
let's... 2016?
Yeah, so let's just...
Was Stranger Things out yet?
I don't know.
Because I saw the trailer and I was like, this is giving me like very 11 vibes.
She's less than... She's more like Hannah in the movie Hannah. She just kills
Hannah
people.
of Hannah?
Yeah, she just kills people with her hands.
Okay.
And like, it's one of those it feels like one of those movies where it's like, these are all scientists, but they all keep doing the dumbest things.
Right.
Because they like raised this child, but they didn't raise her for years. Like, she rapidly grew. And they're all just like, I trust you not to kill me, even though you've killed all our other friends. And then she kills them.
The moral of the story, don't trust children.
Yes, exactly. But that was Anna Taylor-Joy from The Witch. So
yes,
she's doing things. She's living deliciously, I guess.
Truly, you know.
But
that's what happens.
Louis, what was your 1-star review?
So first of all, I had a pick, and then you brought up I remembered then Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon Part 2.
Yeah, I almost picked that,
which is very bad. But just because I'm drama and I want to start drama, I'm gonna stick with my original pick, which you mentioned, which is 2004's Silverhawk.
What? Silverhawk is so much fucking fun. It's not a great movie, but it's fun. She's like literally having fun in every scene of that movie. She gets to wear so many wigs.
Gavin, it's my turn to speak.
Oh, okay. You have the floor, Louis.
First of all, she does have a lot of wigs.
Yeah.
And they're ridiculous.
They're all asymmetrical haircuts. Yeah. I don't know why.
So she produced this film.
Yeah.
It is in 2004. She's playing fashion model Lulu Wang. And when she isn't a fashion model, she's solving crimes and taking names as Silverhawk.
Yes. The first scene in the movie, she saves a panda bear.
A literal panda bear.
It's the most adorable thing. She's like rolling around with a panda bear.
Thinking about it now, like really marinating on this movie, it is obviously so campy.
Yeah.
I don't think it knows it is.
Oh, really? I disagree. I felt like it had the production design of Batman and Robin and the editing of Batman 66.
No, but like it did, I don't even like, so it has the production design of Batman and Robin, but with, I mean, first, and somehow yet still more. Like there is a scene where like they're fighting on like rollerblades, which I guess does happen in Batman and Robin.
And hockey sticks.
And hockey sticks. So this is like some weird, bizarro future world where I'm assuming that we all speak English, right?
Yeah.
And
seems like it.
And people are like black and white and Asian, just cause we are now
it's definitely set in like a future Hong Kong.
Right.
Like it's clearly the home.
Very multi-culti.
Yeah.
And I think the movie is just like so silly. Like the main character is a dude. The dude and her like maybe went to like fighting school together.
Right.
And like that's also a trope of these kung fu movies where it's like flashbacks to like, wait.
Yeah, we trained together.
We trained together. And he's like a cop and he's like, we're gonna find Silverhawk. She's a vigilante, blah, blah, blah. And like meanwhile, like Lulu, who's like the hot, runway model who everyone like wants. She's like, that's me.
I love that she's a hot runway model, but she's like constantly being invited to like science fairs.
Yeah,
and, like...
very that. And so like, her mom or someone wants her to hook up with this scientist character.
Right.
He is like, he has made a thing that you put on your head and it tells you like, you shouldn't be having carbs or like, you should run today. And turns out it's fucking a mind control.
Right.
But weirdly enough, they don't make the scientist the bad guy. An actual bad guy takes the scientist to make it into an evil thing.
Played by frequent Guillermo del Toro collaborator Luke Goss, who was in Blade 2 and Hellboy 2.
Right. I could see a world where it's fun and silly, but also part of me was just like, I prefer my Michelle Yeoh to, I don't know if she does comedian well.
And maybe that's it. Maybe she doesn't. But also, I watched it on a plane to Tennessee, and like I I don't know. I just had so much fun. I think because I wasn't expecting it, because most of the Girls with Guns films she did were so self-serious, and a lot of the wuxia films, though there are some crazy ones, are really self-serious. So I just wasn't expecting
this is the complete opposite.
For her to produce something that she gets to have so much fun. I mean, there's literally a shot where she runs up a wall and does a backflip off the wall, and my favorite thing about it was the camera was on her, following her, and she's smiling the whole time. Yeah. And I was just like, oh, bless your heart, Michelle Yeoh.
I think she was like, maybe I'm gonna smile in this movie.
Yeah.
Do you know who you are and what you're doing?
I know exactly what I am doing. And I know who I am. The only difference between us is you carry a badge and I don't. At the end of the day, remember, we are fighting for the same cause.
Same cause? Huh. There's law and order. It's easy for you to say. Put on your mask, you're the hero. Take it off, you're Mr. Luong. Of course, it's all fun and games for you. But if everyone works outside the system like you, it'd be total chaos. From now on, you stay out of it.
You have your law and order. I have my principles. I choose to use my skills to help the people. It is my mission in life. It's my life, and you can stay out of it.
It's like maybe a 3-star movie for me, but my one complaint about the movie is that like it's so like the color palette is so like white and silver.
It's white,
so
blue,
it's
metal.
Yeah.
It's okay. This is my thought. This movie has 10 lava lamps at home, 2 beanbags, uses Axe body spray, and loves Linkin Park. That's what you need to know about this movie.
Rude.
That's what you need to know about this movie.
I mean, this movie is probably what goes on in Avril Lavigne's head. I agree.
Absolutely.
But, like,
always. Original Avril Lavigne, not the new one.
Yeah, not Melissa.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, but to move on into other things that we really, really didn't like, a really horrid movie is the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon sequel.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I think in a way it's almost detrimental to the original Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon because, I'll get into this more, but yeah, it's really, really fucking awful. And also, I was so upset at the end of Crazy Rich Asians. Hopefully this isn't a spoiler. There's like a slight credit sequence with Harry Shum Jr. shows up. And I was just like, oh God, don't bring him in. He can't act.
Literally seeing Harry Shum Jr., who we all know from Glee, the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon sequel looks like it has the production budget of a high-end YouTube video.
Yeah. It's, when I first started watching it, I was like, oh, it looks like a CW show. And then as I was watching more, I was like, oh, I'm being really mean to some of the CW shows.
Right. Like, no. It literally looks like, I mean, it looks like a YouTube Red production.
Right.
Which has a very specific, like, kind of when that thing when you know you're watching a Canadian show. Yeah. It's like, the movie is beyond bad. It takes everything good about, the original Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, just like, washes it all away. Yeah. It sucks.
I really hated Mechanic Resurrection, but not because of Michelle Yeoh. I just want to put it out there that it's bad. Okay. I really hate the first movie. The first movie was one of my least favorite films of 2011.
Except when he's in the water with the oil and they're fighting.
It's so bad. It doesn't matter.
But it's, but sexy.
And I was like kind of excited when I first started watching Mechanic Resurrection because I was like, oh, she's playing Malaysian. And then I realized, no, she's playing Thai. No. And then The Mummy is bad, and she's also in it for like a hot 5 minutes.
Right. Did not get through it.
And, I don't blame you. And also apparently destroyed Brendan Fraser, which I didn't know until today. Like, that's where he ruined his body. But also, oh, Yes, Madam.
You don't like Yes, Madam?
I know it's a classic, but just like that's another movie where like, it made her a star, and it's the reason we got this whole genre of films. But she's in maybe a third of the movie. You follow most of the comedic men characters, and they're so annoying and obnoxious. And then every scene that she's in, when you finally get back to her, it's just her and Cynthia Rothrock arguing with each other about who's going to take lead.
I would also argue that those early movies, she doesn't really have a mastery of like how to, use her body outside of the fighting scenes.
Yeah.
I think she's very kind of, she has seen what other women do.
Right.
And in movies and what's expected of them and how they act. And I think this like, it's very, cardboard, you know, very like, she's very free when she's like fighting, but when she's just kind of like walking into a room or she's like scolding someone, shit's very like bloop, bloop, bloop.
And it's hard to judge those movies, so I'm glad you brought it up from that point, because it is hard to judge those movies because they are often dubbed in English by people who are not them. So it's hard to like judge her acting on that. But you're right, there is something weird about her body language.
I think until we get to Super Cop, that's when she really, it seems like she's become more comfortable as an actress and she gets to make other choices.
That's another movie where she's really funny though. So I maybe am like downplaying your comedy thing, because she's really funny.
She's funny in that. I think she's very funny also in Tai Chi Master.
Yeah.
But I think those are like more grounded in like human people and not like fashion runway models who are also superheroes.
Whatever. I just like seeing her smile. Anyways, Louie, let's move into our 5-star reviews. I think, and I feel like anytime you do this, you preface it by being like, I know I have basic taste, which I don't think you do, but...
You have basic taste?
I think I have basic taste by saying I think her best role is Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I think there is a quality to the emotion that she puts into that character that is so beautiful and stunning, even outside of the fighting. The like sort of rigid and regalness that she gives herself because she's playing a repressed person. Our former guest, Dan Mecca, him and I were talking recently prior to this about Ang Lee. Ang Lee makes films about repressed emotion, and they're only good when they're about repressed emotions.
Right.
And Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is a movie about repressed emotions. Michelle Yeoh plays Yushu Lian, and she is visited by Lee Mubai, who is her former lover, who she like loved, but she was engaged to be married to somebody else, and then he died.
Lee Mubai is played by Chow Yun-fat, right?
Chow Yun-fat, yes.
Yeah.
And because she was married to this other person, Lee Mubai is like, I made a promise. We can essentially never be together. And there's clearly so much love between them.
Right.
He is a warrior who's come out of retirement to avenge the death of his master, who was killed by Jade Fox, who was a person that basically wanted to be trained by his master, and his master denied her because he was like, I'm not going to train women.
Yeah, he was sexist.
He was sexist, exactly. So he's brought his sword, the Green Destiny, there with him because he's going to hunt down the Jade Fox. While all this is going on, you're introduced to Zhen Yu, who is the daughter of a nobleman,
played by Zhang Ziyi,
and she's essentially like masquerading at night as this thief because she wants to get the Green Destiny, because she's been trained by Jade Fox, who's been like living as essentially her nanny.
Right.
And also she's engaged to somebody else, but she's in love with this thief known as Dark Cloud. Who like kidnapped her in the desert, and sort of a little Stockholm syndrome to her, but there's a lot of love there during the world's longest flashback, and that's maybe my only complaint about the movie, because that flashback is 20 minutes of the film, but it feels like it's 40 minutes.
The movie truly is an epic.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I could definitely see like 2 whole English classes worth watching this movie.
But I think if you watch the film, even if you take it's a wuxia film, and wuxia, which we haven't really defined, are usually historical fantasy dramas at which people do very normal things except when they fight, and which they suddenly have no sense of gravity whatsoever. It's what we commonly refer to as wire fu, though I think most Americans think of like the Matrix stuff as wire fu, but that stuff's so like crisp, where this is very light and airy, like people just like spinning through the air, and
it's also like related to like, who taught you this technique?
Yes,
this technique of like, it's a special thing that you can learn, and it's from a master or something that makes you be able to like run over water or like through the trees and like up into the air. Like, it's so visually stunning.
And that's not to downplay. There's this amazing scene where she fights Zhang Ziyi, where Zhang Ziyi has the Green Destiny, and nothing can break it. And she's just cutting up Michelle Yeoh's weapons. Yeah. And actually, Michelle Yeoh almost bests her, and then they get distracted, and I can't remember why.
Well, Limo Bao comes on, and he's like, cause Michelle Yeoh's like, listen, bitch, put down the sword, let's make it happen.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's like, come and get it.
Yes.
And, then Limo Bao comes in, and he's like, I was only toying with you earlier. I don't need the Green Destiny to take you down.
Yeah. And and there's a lot of great stuff there. I don't want to get, like, too over in the plot, but Zhengzi wants to be his student, and he's like, and she's like, I'll train under you if you can get the sword in 3 moves. He takes it in 1,
bitch,
and throws it away, and she goes after it. But, essentially, they have the showdown with Jade Fox, and Jade Fox poisons him, which is the coward's way because it's not fighting.
Right.
And there's this amazing scene, that Michelle Yeoh and Chow Yun-fat have to play where they want to hold each other so bad. They want to be in love with each other, like to really be one. And they can't do it. They can't, like, he's dying. They miss their chance. Yeah. And like, he
finally reveals, he's like, cause he knows he's dying.
Right.
She's like trying to like be like, no, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Right. And he's like, girl.
Yeah.
We missed it. I love, and he says, I love you, but it's never gonna happen now.
提升这一口气，到达你这一生追求的境地。别放下，浪费在我身上。
我已经浪费了这一生，我要用这个气对你说，我一直是爱着你。
Earlier, I mentioned that Ang Lee made her cry on the first day of filming. She got her revenge because she had to cry for hours straight while shooting that scene. And apparently the entire time she kept Ang Lee crying.
I mean, I fucking believe it. Like,
yeah.
The beginning of that movie is introducing these 2 characters, and it's crazy how fast you're able to feel like the ache between them.
Yeah.
Excellent pick, Gavin.
Yeah. And I do, you're right. Ache is the right word.
It's like aching and longing, and and truly the movie is just like so layered because there is her performance up against Zhang Ziyi when she's not being the ninja.
Right.
And
when they're just being formal ladies.
Right.
You know?
And then like, there's like, I love the cat and mouse that they have because they fucking know.
Right.
But they're just like playing cool. And then when they're fighting and then her up against Chow Yun-fat, it's just so good. And,
yeah, it's a very layered performance. Also, it's just a really fucking beautiful movie. Every frame of it, all the editing, and like, that's why it's such a shame that the Netflix sequel was, was such garbage. But yeah, I don't know. That movie is something special, and it's no wonder I'm not sure if this stat is correct at the moment, but like, it's the highest grossing, quote unquote, foreign film, even though there's Hollywood money in it, of all time.
It won the,
non-English language film, I should say.
It won the, foreign language Oscar that year.
Yeah.
Was it nominated for Best Picture also?
It was nominated for Best Picture. Yeah. Sorry.
My 5-star review is going to go to, kind of, what I think is her most impressive acting performance is 2011's The Lady.
It is a really great performance for a controversial subject.
Right.
Yeah.
And at the time it wasn't controversial.
Right.
And
it's such an obvious too at the time. Like, of course, make a movie about this woman.
Yeah. And the story goes that essentially she like heard that there was a script floating around about, Aung San Suu Kyi, and she called her agent and was like, girl, find it. And apparently the writer was also looking for her. So it was kind of just like stars aligned type of thing. And then also she is good friends with Luc Besson, because her husband is French.
Yeah.
Aung San Suu Kyi, the movie starts off showing her as a child, with her father, who was going to be the founder, he crafted democracy for, Burma. and they show him with his, pro-democracy people, immediately being slaughtered, essentially, and by the government. Or not the government, the military.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, he becomes a martyr, essentially, for, the pro-democracy movement that she, grows up in. She eventually moves away to, the UK. She marries, has 2 sons, and she just kind of is like always in the background hearing about the horrors of happening in Burma because the government is so militantly oppressive. Her mother is dying though, and so she decides, I'm going to go down there to see her before she passes away. So she does, and immediately when she steps into the country, the government is like, she's here. Like, cause they know who she is, they know who her father is, and when she goes, it's during a time when, the military has these, like, police forces that if you are speaking out against the government, you'll be killed.
Yeah.
In public. Like, there's an awful scene where they're at a hospital, and, she's there looking after her mom, and, the people who are being beaten and shot at by the forces, they come into the hospital and they kill a doctor who is trying to keep them out. They just kill him. And they say, I have a red scarf on. I can do whatever I want. And so it's during this time, the people know she's there, and all these scholars and academics are like, Sue, they call her Sue, you're the only one who can, help us out. The military decides that they're going to have, elections, and they want Sue to run, on their party. And so she has to have a conversation with her husband, and it's long story short. She runs on a very pro-peace agenda. She has a very iconic speech moment.
Yes.
Where she's speaking to the masses. She wins the election, but the military says, fuck you. And essentially they, sentence her to house arrest, kick her entire family out, and exile her from the world for essentially 15 years.
Yeah.
And it's a total blackout. She can't do anything. And her husband, nominates her and uses his kind of pull in the academic circles to get her nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. She wins.
Which is and I thought this was an interesting discussion because you don't hear this often, but it is done quite often. It's basically used as a bargaining chip so they can't kill her.
Right.
Because a Nobel Peace Prize gets publicized so widely.
Correct. The Burmese military decides they'll let her leave her house. And that's truly but that's not until later when her husband has already died.
Right.
She pleads with the government, please let me, go home. And they're like, you can go, but you can't come back.
Right. And that's the whole, and that ends up being the whole thing.
Right.
Too.
It's about she put her country before herself, the man she loves, her kids who grew up,
who should have, Burmese citizenship.
Yeah.
But the government uses the fact that they are half British, as a weapon against her.
They use that as the reason why after she was released from house arrest, and she is technically their president or prime minister, they say that there is a law in their constitution that because she has married a British man and has children who are British, that she cannot be their president.
Right.
And so she has a very weird title now, but she is a de facto president or something.
Right.
And the movie, Michelle Yeoh got to meet, Aung San Suu Kyi at the very end of filming. She was blacklisted from Burma for a while. But she describes meeting, Sue as a very beautiful, peaceful, moment. I love the movie a lot. It's unfortunate, there's now, new things that are happening with Burma and Aung San Suu Kyi and her politics,
right?
That kind of taint it. But looking at it in 2011 and when it came out, Michelle Yeoh is just masterful.
She's really great. I would give the performance 5 stars. I had issues with the movie because I felt that Luc Besson's hand was just a little too heavy. Anywhere he just wasn't a subtle enough filmmaker to to handle the depth of the story. And I think a lot of the things that carry the film are both Michelle Yeoh and David Thewlis's like such heartbreaking performances that they keep sort of, but I think the filmmaking style itself really is like trying to hammer the point home, and it doesn't need to. The story is there, right, and the acting is there, but he's such a present filmmaker.
She glides. Yeah. Michelle, and this is where her dancing, fighting, like, even when she doesn't need it, she uses it, and she's just gliding, and she exudes like this peaceful aura, like, and truly, like, thinking about like a role made for her, she's able to speak in English. When she's in the UK with her husband, she goes back to this Southeast Asian, a minority within Asia, like truly, and fighting for her people. And
my favorite scene actually in the movie is her campaigning and stopping at all the different little places and being able to speak the dialect of every single place that she visits.
And like you mentioned, the phone call with her husband who's dying, is truly.
There's a couple of them. The one where she finds out he's actually dead is even. Oh my god.
Kim. He doesn't have much time left.
But I can't. My hands are tied.
I'm sorry.
I know. But he's dying.
Please try to understand. Kim.
It would be the end of everything your father and I fought for so long.
Hello?
Kim? Kim? No.
I can't recommend the movie enough. If you're like looking for an easy intro into Michelle Yeoh that's not kung fu, perhaps, this is a great movie. What are other really excellent movies that you liked from her canon?
I really loved, there's a wuxia film called Butterfly and Sword.
I didn't get to see that one.
It's weird. It's one of the weirder ones. It's First of all, it's her and Tony Leung, little Tony Leung, as he's known in China, because there's two of them.
Okay.
Who is the most gorgeous man alive.
Love.
She plays his sister. They're kung fu masters, and they're basically set to inherit the world of kung fu because everything's so extreme in this movie. And there's like a weird incestuous like thing going on between them. Like the first time she meets him, he's naked.
And you liked this movie,
but everything's so extreme in this movie, and it's funny because she even actually gets to say one of her lines that she then gets to say later in Crazy Rich Asians. And so he's a fighter who's in love with this girl named Butterfly, and she fucking hates Butterfly.
Okay.
And they're also like, they need to kill this guy so they can get this scroll and bring it back to their master so they can inherit the world of Kung Fu. But
obviously.
But while he's like off pretending to be somebody else so they can kill this guy, she has to take care of Butterfly. And she fucking hates Butterfly. And she is at her most like Joan Crawford, but speaking Cantonese. It's insane how bitchy she is in this movie, and I've never seen her be that way before.
Love that.
And it's so good. And at one point, she like calls Butterfly by the wrong name, and she's like, "I'm Butterfly. We've met before." And she's like, "Oh, my brother has so many boyfriends. So many girlfriends. It's hard to keep track."
Queen.
Yeah. Most wuxia movies, one of the things I like about most wuxia movies is like the violence is sort of like secondary.
Oh, totally.
Like it's not about blood. This one, no. This one is like
all blood.
People fucking exploding. Like the bad guy gets his head cut off and then his body still comes after them.
Love.
Like it's so nuts and beautiful. But maybe the best thing in it is her introduction in the film is she, like, her brother's, like, in the forest, and you just see fabric fall, and then she bursts down in, like, a cyclone of fabric and glitter, and it's just like...
That's how I got here today.
Exactly.
Right.
And I was just, like, it's so enamored with this, like, crazy wuxia film. I think everybody should go out and see
that
it.
Reminds me
so good.
That reminds me a lot of the Heroic Trio, which I thought I was gonna, like, really, really hate. But it's actually... very stupid, and I love it. I think we didn't talk a lot about sexualizing her. I think this movie does the most, cause she looks so hot. Like, I watched a bunch of these movies and I never was like, ooh, wow. This movie, I was like, yeah, she's wearing like this crazy red thing and she's always like a little bit wet. You know, they must have like misted her or something. Her hair looks gorgeous. Watch this movie just for the ending. Maggie Cheung is also in this movie. Watch this movie just for the ending where like an actual like skeleton man is the bad guy.
Yes.
And he like wraps his arms around Michelle Yeoh, and Michelle's like, "Oh no, he's controlling my body." and literally this Skeletor dude is like controlling her body, and she has to like jump off of a building. And I was like, this movie was worth it.
Yeah, the wuxia movie is
really quickly. Memoirs of a Geisha, which is another epic movie. Like,
yeah, that's a movie I hated, but I liked her performance.
It's very beautiful.
Yeah.
And I had seen it in high school and I watched it again and I was like, man, I fucking forgot how much shit they put these girls through.
Yeah.
Like Hatsumomo, Pumpkin, they just all like, Michelle Yeoh's character has like the least tragic, I think, story.
Yeah.
Say I'm entertaining the Baron. Like so many clients, he's trapped in an arranged marriage. So in the tea house, when he's seeking my company instead, I reward him like this, with a glimpse of my wrist. Seeing this demure little trace of naked skin, well, it gives him pleasure.
Like, it's truly kind of torturous.
Yeah.
But I digress. Just a very big beat on
Men
that.
are gross.
Very that. Before we go away, though, I want to mention Sunshine.
Oh, yeah, Sunshine.
2007 by Danny Boyle. One of the best line readings I've ever fucking heard. Chris Evans is in this movie, and, like, they, like, change their shields or something, and the ship starts making a bunch of noises, and he's like,
Jesus.
That's a temperature change on the shields. Metal's just contracting and expanding.
I know what it is, flyboy.
and I was just like, bitch, yes, you fucking tell Chris Evans to shut the fuck up, okay? Because Chris Evans is literally playing like the same guy he plays like in Snowpiercer and all those like indie movies where he's like, I'm a real actor, which fine. I'm not mad at him, but I'm always just like, we got it, Queen. Like, you're like the like American guy who's like, is not gonna say no and he's gonna like stick up for what's important and right. I'm like, ugh. The most boring fucking character.
Yeah. So real quick, before we move on to our fast forward, why don't we do our mixed reviews review?
Yeah. My 1-star review went to 2004, I believe. 2004 is Silverhawk.
And my 1-star review went to 2016's Morgan.
My 5-star review went to 2011's The Lady.
And my 5-star review went to 2000's Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
I think excellent choices all around.
Oh, absolutely. So let's move into our fast forward.
So, Gavin, you saw Crazy Rich Asians, right?
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, I saw it on Sunday.
I saw it by myself. The best decision I've made in my life. I went after work. I was like, I deserve this. I deserve to order nachos. I deserve my large Dasani. And I'm going to sit and enjoy the movie event of the summer, okay? God, what a breath of fresh.
Yeah, it is really, I don't know how to, like, it was so much fun.
So much fun. It's, who would have known it's going to take Asians to revive the romantic comedy?
But that's the weird thing, right? I don't think there's anything new or insane about that movie other than the fact that it stars a large cast of mostly ethnically Chinese people.
Right. It's almost like there's like there's a makeover scene with like a best friend and a gay friend, like in front of a mirror. Like, and it reminds me, and I hope it reminds people, like, just because it's been done before doesn't mean it's easy and like is less entertaining. Like, because when it's done right, like, it's so right.
I will say, and I said this a little bit up front as well, too, some of the materialism, once again, it's a movie, so I shouldn't even, like, but, like, I love seeing materialism in a movie because I don't have to live it, but it also, like, grosses me out a little bit.
Right.
And then also, anybody who's, like, a darker shade of brown is a servant in the movie, and that's a little gross, too. Like, that scene with, Awkwafina, hilarious in the movie, but that scene where they pull up to the party and there's two, like, they look ethnically Indian men, with guns, and she's like scared of them, and I was like, ooh, this is a little uncomfortable.
Right. I was like, why are you scared, girl?
Yeah.
Go out and watch Crazy Rich Asians.
Absolutely. I mean, and Michelle, since we're talking about Michelle Yeoh, she is so good.
Yeah.
And one of the things I loved in that GQ article, she talked about how she read the book and was basically like, I'm only going to play it if I'm not this stereotypical character.
She didn't want to be a tiger mom.
The tiger mom, yeah. She referred to herself as the dragon mom because they're both like fierce and like
nurturing.
You know, to be represented, we're not just a token for diversity. You know, to be real representation means you have a meaningful character that has hopes and dreams. And in Crazy Rich Asians, that's what we all have. It's so diverse, but at the same time, it's got heart. It's about love. It's about family. And I think it really shows the other side of the Asians to our friends around the world. And it will be very impactful because it's a studio movie. It's not just an indie film. On TV. So I think that will inspire more behind the scenes, in front of the camera. And I look at these young people in awe. Seriously, they are just so brilliant.
She's hardly like a real villain, you know? And the beauty in the movie is like it doesn't take any easy shots.
Right.
It's never like Constance Wu's character, who's the main character, Rachel, they're not in battle with each other.
Right.
They're not like...
And it's funny, too, because the movie pushes that narrative every now and then. They're like, looks like we got a fighter.
Right.
But, like, they're really not.
It's like, compare that to when we talked about Jane Fonda.
Absolutely.
Jane Fonda and Jennifer Lopez in Ugly Step Monster or whatever the fuck. Whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah.
Step Monster.
Monster-in-Law.
That one.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I'm gonna put like laxatives in her drinks, or I'm gonna like make her hit herself, or whatever stupid like antics where it's just for like the gag for the movie's sake. It's like, it's disgusting. And this movie is so much more successful, and they didn't have to lean on tired garbage shit like that.
Absolutely.
Where it's the tension is real because it is real.
Right.
It's because they have these deeply held beliefs. And
just in general, no one can do a steely gaze.
Fuck.
Like Michelle Yeoh.
When there's a scene on a staircase, that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. It's the scene.
It's basically the scene. She puts her hand on Michelle, on
Constance Wu's face.
And it's like, whew.
I know this much. You will never be enough.
What else about Michelle Yeoh? Like, looking to the future, we talked a little bit about, you know, she has done some voiceover work. She was in Kung Fu Panda 2.
Right.
So she's no longer in Star Trek, is that right?
Perhaps,
maybe.
I'm gonna plead the fifth on that. The door is open.
Beyond that, though, like, what is next for Michelle Yeoh? I mean, is it... So she's played a mom now, like,
hopefully we'll get the sequels to Crazy Rich Asians.
Right. I would want that, need that. I mean, truly watching that movie made me feel like, wow, this movie, Black Panther, Get Out, like, all these movies, it feels like there is something changing in Hollywood, especially because these movies are making so much money.
Right.
And it makes me so happy because it's also like, surprise, we've always been here. Michelle Yeoh has been here.
The next couple things she's doing are Hong Kong films, actually. Okay. She's doing the next Ip Man movie, Master Z, Ip Man Legacy. And she's also doing Life as Lotus, also known as Niha, which is a fantasy film. I'm actually quite interested. I mean, it looks like a wuxia movie, but like, I'm curious to see, you know, she looks gorgeous in the one publicity still.
Oh shit, it looks
all in red, and
it looks very Random Assassins kind of.
But yeah, like I mean, yeah, I agree with you. I would love to see her be able to do things that are obviously not the stereotypical action thing. I think she doesn't necessarily want to do the stereotypical action thing anymore. I think she'll do them if they're offered to her. I mean, even that GQ article mentions that she can still kick her leg above her head,
right,
like effortlessly. But
I think that's why I responded so much to Sunshine.
Yeah,
it's like she's playing a scientist, but not like in Morgan, where she's like a robot.
Yeah,
this was her like enjoying plants and like, you know, having personality and thoughts, and I was just like, wow, what a role. I think I read that Danny Boyle was like, you can pick any of the characters you want. And she chose this one.
That's awesome.
And I was like, that's the fucking respect she deserves.
Yeah.
I think she's also said she doesn't really go out on auditions much anymore.
Yeah.
I think she's just kind of like, I pick and choose what I want now, which
she's reached the Cher stage of her career.
Good for her. Truly good for her. I do think that she's such a good actress, though. I want her to, like, I want someone in Hollywood to be like, get this girl into another, like, Oscar situation.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I would kill to see her. I mean, she's not quite as old as, because I keep sort of mentioning like Jane Fonda or Michael Douglas.
Right.
She's not quite as old as them. She's maybe a decade younger,
right?
Possibly more. Which, by the way, she's ageless, so that's another. It's hard to pinpoint. But
by the way,
but I would love to see her in like a romance, like an adult.
She's so good.
Yeah, like in
love stories.
Like a nice adult, like just two people falling in love and just. I don't know. I would love to see her do that because I think she could. I mean, like I said, she's so graceful and so gorgeous and just yeah.
And I also would just love. I mean, she does that like really good like Keira Knightley, who's born to like play like period piece like European women.
Yeah.
Michelle Yeoh is so good in these time period like wuxia films, but I don't know. Like I wonder what would it look like to have her in like a modern day like drama like love story like. Put her up against, I don't know, who's like a hot, like, of age actor,
Like she's a woman living in the Midwest and her kids have gone to college.
Right.
And she has some empty nest syndrome.
Yes.
And a new guy moves in next door. I don't know who. I don't want to.
Right.
But like, and she, they start, maybe she fixes something for him or whatnot. And like, you really play with those gender roles and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, but like, also, like, the movie, like, does a little nod to her, like, acrobatics.
Yeah.
Like, maybe she's like, what if she's like a matriarch? This was like, wasn't this The Touch? She's a matriarch of like, of an acrobatic family.
Yes. Yeah.
Or like, you know what? Put her in like a burlesque type thing. But instead of closing down the bar, it's like, they're going to close down our circus or like some,
I don't close down our circus.
Well, whatever.
I mean, I feel like that's the risk we run every time we record. Someone's going to close down the circus.
The circus is about to go down in flames.
I guess that wraps up our Michelle Yeoh talk.
I hope so much that you guys listening will go like just watch one of these movies that you haven't heard of, and also even beyond that, I hope so much that we see Michelle Yeoh like on the Oscar red carpet, and like just doing like I hope this movie Crazy Rich Asians just like launches her career into like the stratosphere where it deserves to be, and Hollywood takes her seriously as
something else than someone who can punch people in the face.
Right, because she fucking can, but also she will punch you if she needs to.
Exactly. So, Louie, where can you find us online?
We're on Twitter at The Mixed Reviews.
We're on Facebook if you just search The Mixed Reviews.
You can email us, right? We're The Reviews Mixed.
At gmail.com.
At gmail.com. You can find us on
Spotify.
iTunes.
Stitcher. Google Play Music,
Victrolas,
iHeartRadio app. We're everywhere. And if you listen to us on iTunes or Stitcher, please rate and review us. It helps other people find us. Now that we're cheating on you,
we're not cheating on you guys.
Exactly. Make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver, and the other is gold.
Is that a thing that people say?
That is something people say in upstate New York, apparently.
Wow.
But yeah.
Thank you guys for listening to us.
Thank you so much.
We'll be back
in a couple weeks with a brand new subject.
See you then.
Bye-bye.
事情当时一点也不觉得苦，就算是苦，我想我也不会在乎。好多事情总是后来才看。